Since December 7, 2022, when the Xi Jinping government lifted all restrictions on the epidemic without warning, the number of infected people in many parts of China, including Beijing, has skyrocketed. This sudden U-turn surprised the outside world and confused many Chinese people.
I watch the TV, and I'm so pissed off. Nothing has been done in the past 3 years, except for nucleic acid tests and the Fangchang hospitals. There are no vaccines that work. None. Now I can't even buy cold medicine. What else is on TV now? Dismantle the Fangchang hospitals. These garbage collectors came and picked up the dismantled Fangchang buildings as garbage.
What a waste.
The most annoying thing is that people are locked up at home every day, weakening their immune systems. This is like SARS last time. How did SARS end? Do you still remember?
It ended unresolved.
It was left with nothing. Nothing is resolved, right? There was no explanation to the people, was there? All of a sudden, it was over with nothing, right?
Yeah. As December progressed, we gradually saw clearly why the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, had suddenly lifted the stringent zero-COVID policy that had been in place for the past 3 years. Namely, by the time former Communist Party leader Jiang Zemin was announced dead on November 30th, a massive outbreak had already struck, at least in Beijing. Infections and death couldn't be contained by any means. If the zero-COVID policy continued, it would have given the world clear evidence that the Communist Party's stringent control measures were virtually useless against the pandemic. On December 14, 2022, Michael Ryan, Executive Director of WHO's Health Emergency Plan, responded to a reporter's question at a press conference organized by the United Nations Correspondents Association in Geneva. He said COVID-19 infections were exploding in China well before the government decided to abandon its strict zero-COVID policy. The virus was spreading intensively in the nation long before the lifting of restrictions.
The explosion of cases in China is not due to the lifting of COVID restrictions. The explosion of cases in China had started long before any easing of the zero-COVID policy.
With the Chinese authorities and the Chinese...
Now, it could be, again, that the reported data is behind the reality. In a fast-moving wave, you might have reported 3 days ago that your hospital is okay. This morning, it may not be okay, because the wave has come, and all of a sudden you have a very high force of infection. So I wouldn't like to say that China are actively not telling us what's going on. I think they're behind the curve in what's actually happening, as everyone is in a situation like this, and we need to get better ways of getting that data quickly so we can monitor together the situation, because it's in the interest of the Chinese health system to know where the pressure is in the system at any one time.
As we reported previously, on December 19, 2022, Beijing's institutional insider tipped off Radio Free Asia that Beijing was hiding a serious outbreak that was already raging at that time in the medical system. It was covered up due to the need to maintain stability for the 20th National Congress, which took place in mid and late October. The medical and funeral systems in the capital are now in a state of collapse. A large number of elderly people have died as a result of cross-infection in Beijing hospitals. This statement by the insider is consistent with Michael Ryan's statement. Some analysts had been surprised by the sudden absence of officials at the 20th Congress because the list announced on September 25, 2022, had 4 senior officials missing compared to the list announced 2 months earlier in July 2022. One of the missing persons was reported to have died due to illness, and the situation of the other 3 wasn't disclosed. Because this outbreak hits like a tsunami, the cause of death of former party leader Jiang Zemin is back in the spotlight. Some media professionals are speculating Jiang might have actually died from COVID, not leukemia, as was officially announced. On December 15th and 16th, 2022, the Communist authorities held the Central Economic Work Conference. It's the highest-level annual economic work conference of the CCP. This year, in addition to reducing the meeting from 3 days to 2, Hong Kong media also discovered, based on CCTV footage, that roughly 12 senior CCP officials in Beijing were absent. It said that epidemic infections or other medical reasons can't be ruled out. A recent article by Hong Kong media listed the absentees of this important meeting. It includes the two vice chairmen of the Military Commission, the chief of the Supreme Court, the chief of the Supreme Prosecutor's Office, the Minister of Civil Affairs, the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Areas, the Director of the National Health Commission, Minister of Emergency Management, and more. We cannot confirm whether this list of senior officials is infected with the virus, but we find the speculation reasonable. In other words, unlike the situation in the past 3 years, this tsunami of the outbreak has claimed the lives of a number of high-ranking Communist Party officials. Moreover, such a massive outbreak occurred in Beijing. Beijing is the capital city that enjoys the most abundant medical resources and has the most protection from the epidemic. However, the outbreak in Beijing has evolved into a stage that Xi Jinping's administration can no longer cover up. Thus, when the White Paper Revolution broke out in late November 2022, Xi quickly chose to abandon the strict zero-COVID policy and lie flat completely. By adopting a radical approach to lifting all restrictions suddenly and completely, the outside world would easily be led to believe that the massive outbreak was the result of the Communist Party's sudden and quick loosening of epidemic controls that offers no transition period. It's no doubt that the move from one extreme to the other has had disastrous consequences. In this episode, we look at the ongoing epidemic in China from a different perspective and search for patterns underlying the elusive surface. Senior Communist Party officials have access to medical and healthcare resources that are beyond the reach of ordinary Chinese. As a result, many CCP leaders have lived to be over 90 years old or even over 100 years old. In 2019, it was announced that Beijing 301 Hospital has set up a 981 Chief Health Project for CCP leaders. The project description states that the average life expectancy of CCP leaders reached 88 years in 2008, and now the goal of life extension is set at 150 years. The health project highlights 6 priorities: cancer prevention, cardiovascular disease prevention, anti-aging, chronic disease management, healthy lifestyles, and organ function regeneration. Note the last one, organ function regeneration, is actually organ transplants, replacing organs with those of younger people to maintain the health of aging leaders. This is not difficult to do in China. The problem now is that it seems these efforts are failing in the face of this wave of viruses. According to internal minutes of a meeting of the Chinese National Health Commission on December 21st, it is estimated that the number of new infections in China on a single day of December 20th was pushing 37 million people, and it's been increasing by the day. From December 1st to the 20th, the cumulative number of infections in 20 days reached 248 million people, accounting for over 17% of the total population. Western media, such as Bloomberg and the Financial Times, verified the news by asking those who attended the conference. In other words, the outbreak in China is already as staggering as a tsunami. This is a funeral home in Beijing. This place is not allowed in. Look, you see inside the vehicles are dead bodies. Crematorium vehicles are lining up too. They aren't allowed in either. It's burning inside and everyone has to line up. These vehicles all belong to the crematorium. This is the city of Tianjin. Oh my gosh, this is the line waiting for the cremation. There must be more than 200 people. There are more over there. Traffic police have even shown up. This is Changchun, northeast China. Look at these vehicles. They're all hauling dead bodies. They're all lining up here. It's so long. Look. Look, now the dead are shelved in this. There's no more space. They can only be stored in a container. Too many dead bodies. All dead, huh? All in the container. There is another city, Changde, in Hebei province.
每天好几百辆。
Hundreds of hearse vehicles every day. Oh, human life. Take care of the elderly in your own family.
把自己家老人都看好吧。
In the 2 weeks since December 7th, a large number of senior CCP officials, or Chinese, in the high echelon have died, according to a list of deaths publicly disclosed by Chinese media. Among them are one of the first inspectors of the State Council of China, former chairman of the Jiangxi Provincial Political Consultative Conference, former secretary of Communist Party General Su Yu, and a retired cadre of the National Defense University of China, former reporter of the top party media People's Daily, and former deputy editor-in-chief of the central-level media China Youth Daily. Meanwhile, many other celebrities, experts, scholars, academicians, etc. also passed away. According to incomplete statistics, 42 CCP academicians, mostly CCP members, have died of illness so far this year. Those announced in December include an expert in laser technology and a member of the Chinese Academy of Engineering, one known as a Marxist economist and educator, a war hero and recipient of the Order of the Republic, and a 39-year-old theater performer who appeared in the Communist Party's Red drama, The Red Army of the Maiden. There are also top Chinese medical professionals as seen in this list. The Weibo account, National Policy Think Tank, published a post on December 23rd. It reads, on Baidu, the Chinese equivalent of Google, among the 30 hot searches on its hot search list on December 22nd, 5 items are concerning the death of a well-known figure. It is fair to say that at this stage, Beijing is the hardest hit area of the epidemic. In an interview with Radio Free Asia, staff at Beijing's largest funeral parlor, Baboshan Funeral Home, which also handles the remains of senior Communist Party officials and leaders, said that all incinerators have been turned on and are operating 24 hours a day since December 13, 2022. The official website of the Baboshan Funeral Home points out that there are 19 new incinerators in the parlor, each of which can cremate one body every 30 minutes. The 12 funeral homes in Beijing have a total of 90 incinerators. If their performance is the same as the Baboshan Funeral Home, more than 4,000 bodies can be cremated under 24-hour operation every day.
This is a suburban funeral home in Chaoyang District, Beijing. The police are at the entrance to maintain order. There are too many bodies. You can't burn fast enough. Look at these vehicles. I started lining up in the morning and have been waiting for 12 hours. I haven't been able to enter the courtyard yet. All the vehicles, whether they belong to funeral parlors or private vehicles, are carrying deceased people inside.
This is another funeral home in Beijing.
殡仪馆现状啊，殡仪馆现状。
This is the current state of the funeral home. There are bodies inside the vehicles, but they can't be unloaded. Look at how many hearse vehicles. Everyone is waiting. They can't be unloaded. The hearse vehicles have no schedule, and we don't know when the bodies can be unloaded.
现在灵车没有点桌，几点卸尸体还卸不了呢，还没准呢。
In this funeral home in Beijing, we see coffins all over the place, inside and outside the home.
好的。我让你们看看啊，妈的，这他妈怎么弄啊这个？你们看看。 都是人。
看看，这就是北京。
Look, this is a busy place in Tongzhou district of Beijing. Now it is the peak time at the end of the school and workday, but there's not even a single person. Look at this road. There's not even a single person.
连个人影都没有。
This intersection in Beijing used to be jammed every day. Now the epidemic restrictions have been lifted, but there are no cars. I don't know how it happened. After the controls were lifted, there were fewer vehicles. Officially, the CCP has acknowledged 7 deaths nationwide since lifting the restrictions in early December until December 20th. All cases were in Beijing. The World Health Organization has received no new COVID-19 hospitalization data from China since Beijing lifted its zero-COVID policy, raising questions about the transparency of its data. The CCP has also reset the criteria for deaths from epidemic infection, prompting criticism from some disease experts. On December 19th, State Department spokesman Ned Price told a press conference that there is a global concern about the number of deaths from the outbreak in China. On December 22nd, Secretary of State Antony Blinken called on Beijing to share information about its COVID-19 outbreak, saying the surge in China is affecting the world. Blinken said it's also very important for all countries, including China, to focus on people getting vaccinated, making testing and treatment available, and importantly, sharing information with the world about what they are experiencing. He declined to say what specific help, if any, Washington has recently offered Beijing, but said the United States was ready to continue to support people around the world, including China. China has not asked to date for that help, he added. Combining the various pieces of information available to us so far, two things become certain. First, there will be a large number of people infected in China, and second, the number of deaths in China will be high. A study published in July 2022 in the journal Nature Medicine by researchers from the School of Public Health at Fudan University in Shanghai predicted that without control measures, this wave of the Omicron epidemic would kill 1.55 million people within 6 months. Perhaps the future might be even worse than this prediction. There's a good chance that the virus and its rapid spread in China aren't as cold as the Chinese experts have claimed. It is much more serious. Brothers, don't believe the experts when they say, infected once, good for half a year. This is my second time. Now I can't walk. When I stand up and take a step, I will fall. My back still hurts and my whole body hurts. Well, in the future, I have to exercise more and improve my immunity. But don't believe it when they tell you won't get infected again after the infection. It's a complete lie. Go, go, go. An anesthesiologist in Wuhan said his hospital was full. Many patients need mechanical ventilation intubation, and the future may face a wave of death more intense than the previous wave, but there isn't much doctors can do. Recently, I think this volume is a bit too much. In fact, we no longer differentiate between positive and negative patients. We take precautions and then we intubate. I did these 3 cases. Each has a very serious lung infection. I went to see their files. They are all positive, especially the last patient. I used the laryngoscope to pick up his epiglottis. I immediately saw pink foam-like sputum coming out of the airway. Anyone who understands knows what this is. It's the end stage of heart failure. The patient was in end-stage heart failure with a serious lung infection. So we thought the chances of survival were slim. We just did what we could. I've been saying on the internet platform that we will face waves of outbreaks and waves of deaths. Each wave will be more severe than the previous one, and there isn't much doctors can do. Since the outbreak of the pandemic in Wuhan in early 2020, the CCP has adopted a zero-COVID policy for 3 consecutive years. So why can't the world's toughest control measures stop the tsunami of epidemics at the end of 2022? We have explored various shortcomings of the red system of the CCP in previous episodes. In this episode, let's look at this epidemic in China from a different perspective. Red China has suffered too much. During the Mao era, the CCP unleashed dozens of political campaigns that, according to incomplete data, resulted in the unnatural deaths of more than 80 million Chinese people. During the Deng Xiaoping era, the CCP staged the June 4th massacre in Tiananmen Square, in which a large number of young students and citizens were killed at gunpoint. During the Jiang Zemin era, the persecution of Falun Gong, a Qigong group that believes in truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance, affected more than 100 million practitioners and their families at the time, and even engaged in the mass organ harvesting of Falun Gong practitioners. The persecution continues to this day. The Communist Party has covered up information about the 3-year epidemic, and it is difficult to quantify how many people have died as a result of the harsh control measures. Traditional Eastern and Western cultures share a similar view of plagues as divine punishments on humans, which come when rulers are brutal and society as a whole is morally corrupted. In ancient Rome, persecution of Christians took place, followed by 4 plagues, which led to the decline and even the fall of the mighty Roman Empire. The Ming Dynasty of China came to an end due to the Great Plague. The Qing Dynasty of China also came to an end amidst the Great Plague. The New York-based Epoch Times Media Group published an article written by Falun Gong founder Master Li Hongzhi at the beginning of the outbreak on December 22nd. In his article, Stay Rational, in March 2020, Master Li Hongzhi stated, "Truth be told, pandemics only come when people's morals and values have turned bad, and they have come to have a massive amount of karma." The article wrote, "But a pandemic, like the current Chinese Communist virus, or Wuhan virus, comes with a purpose behind it and it has targets. It is here to weed out members of the party and those who have sided with it. People should distance themselves from the CCP and stop siding with the party. Behind it is the Red Devil, while outwardly it looks and acts like a thug who stops at no evil. So now that the divine is starting to eradicate it, all who still stand by it shall perish. Those who doubt this can wait and see." Our channel is not affiliated with the Epoch Media Group, but we believe that in the face of the oncoming pandemic, it is beneficial to keep an open mind and listen to information from all sides to inform our audience. After all, it's about the most precious thing to mankind, that is, life itself. Epoch Times Media also reported that Yi Rong, president of the Global Withdrawal Center in New York, called on Chinese people to quit the CCP on December 22, 2022. We have covered the Quit the Party movement in a previous episode. If you are interested, you can click on the link in the description box. The chairman of the Withdrawal Service Center said that the epidemic was started by the CCP, which has a backlash against the CCP and has the element of eliminating the CCP. Ending the CCP by heaven is now in progress. She said everyone who has joined the Young Pioneers, the Communist Youth League, or the Communist Party has been asked to take an oath to dedicate their lives to the Communist Party. This oath is frightening because in the process of eliminating the CCP, such people could be considered a part, a member, a particle, and thus become its sacrifice and buried with it. Yi Rong emphasized that due to the current rapid and urgent situation of the outbreak, and the fact that not every Chinese who has joined the CCP organization can bypass the CCP's firewall and declare their withdrawal from the party at the website tuidong.org or the Dajiyuan withdrawal page tuidong.epochtimes.com. In such cases, people who wish to withdraw can post their declaration of withdrawal from the party, league, or Young Pioneers on light poles or public walls or written on the circulated renminbi bill. It's equally effective. Using a pseudonym is fine because heaven sees people's hearts. The above statement reminds us of the example in Europe. In 1633, when the Black Death was raging, at least one person died in every 2 households. In Oberammergau, Bavaria, Germany, the villagers were in great fear. They knelt down in devotion, led by a priest, and prayed to God that if he could save them from the extinction in the Black Death, they would honor him with practical actions. From the moment they vowed, the Black Death stopped and never again took a single villager's life. As we see it, after more than 70 years of suffering, being willing to be part of the CCP isn't something to be proud of. Choosing to leave the CCP should only bring the Chinese people good luck.